Hey everyone, my name is Johnny Lawrence and I want to introduce you to something a little bit different.
Yeah.
I want to introduce you to the Strength Shed Sessions.
Hey.
Hi, my name is Johnny Lawrence and welcome to the Strength Shed Sessions. The Strength Shed, a place where you can get physically strong and mentally strong. Today I've got a great guest. Somebody whom, not so long ago, him and I went out for a coffee and we've been friends ever since. I think I can call it friends. We have one of them relationships of banter. We share a lot of things in common. We've done a few jobs together and we share a similar ethos on the whole fitness industry. Andrew Mccauley, how you doing, buddy?
Not too bad. Looking forward to this.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. We've done a bit of work together. We've done a little video cast that I think 3 people have seen.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, about
3.5.
Yeah, 3.5. Wow.
Yeah, I reckon.
Need you to explain the half.
I know. Who gets in trouble?
Yeah. You really would. Yeah. But I mean, I was really looking forward to talking to you on here because I think you're an exceptional guy, and I want everyone else to hear your story and your journey and your ethos and your real sort of will to help people. Really, I think that's very genuine. We all know in the industry that's not always the case, and you're one of the good ones. I'm going to pay for all this kindness.
It's upsetting.
But listen, tell people about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Ireland, but I've been in Cornwall now about 10 years. Started off doing sports science, quickly discovered I wanted to get into kind of health more so went into physio, and then moved to London after I did that, and then moved down to Cornwall about 10 years ago. And in that time I also did a Master's in Sports Medicine, and also became a strength and conditioning specialist through the NSCA stuff. So
Anything else?
just the one or two things, yeah. Right. So that was kind of like
qualified enough.
To be honest, sometimes you think you think you're a course collector. Sometimes that kind of like and you still don't know anything, which is a big.
Well, that's the humbleness I talk about.
Yeah. So you really do. So moved on to, and then I worked for the NHS part time as a shoulder, knee, and hip specialist. ESP they call them, which is you do assessment clinics, and then I do rehab in the afternoon. Hopefully, usually with the more complicated, sport specific ones, but I see every kind of patient really. And then half the time I set up private practice, which kind of has a focus of people who are interested in health and fitness. Right. So it's called Procare Sports Medicine, but really that was to set me apart from other physiotherapists really, because when you hear physiotherapy, people have a certain thought pattern what that is. Yeah. And it wasn't what I had thought in my head. So I didn't think that what people would expect of physio, I was actually thinking I was offering a different service. Yeah. So I called it a different name, sports medicine. So I set that up, and I wanted people, even if it was like people who were, people call up and say, oh, I'm not an athlete. And I'm like, well, you don't need to be. Have you got a goal? Do you want to get fit? Do you want to be healthy? Do you want to change your behaviour? And they'll say yes, and that's what I'm about. So I wanted, that's one of the biggest ethos, is to change people's behaviour towards a healthy environment.
That's exactly one of the things that we resonated on. I was so pleasantly surprised to hear you talking about mindset, because I'm a big on mindset. I love all that sort of stuff. And actually one of the huge components of injury is mindset, is having had an injury and going back into sport is terrifying. And you understand that on that level, and I really respect that.
I would nearly go as far as to say it's the most important thing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Right.
And that's what when I teach. So I run. I do a couple of different things as well. So that was my job. And obviously there's a lot of I get to see elite athletes in there as well, which is nice because the reasons a lot of the people come, especially strength sports, is because they've kind of not really been. People can't empathize if you don't know about strength sports. It can be quite alien to people, especially therapists who don't understand strength training. Yeah, and strength training is definitely not, or strength and conditioning is definitely not a big strong point of physios. They'll be the first to say that, which kind of goes on to why I designed a course for them. But like empathizing with these, they still come with the same injuries. There's same that Jack the Builder and Jack the CrossFitter. They're the same people. They just might have different goals, but they've still got the same thing you're dealing with. And it's how you can work around their lifestyle and what's important to them is the key thing. So what they really want from life or fitness or whatever, and giving it back to them as soon as possible, and giving them hope around that, or giving them direction as well in management. So
because you have that tagline of "come back stronger," don't you? I love that.
And it's not just, and then it's that, is it stronger about it? But people actually, funny enough, it's not just stronger physically, it's mentally, it's the whole package really. It's being able to kind of and come back from injury, as you said, that like that's such a big thing as well. You get people tear something like an ACL or a ruptured tendon that could be 12 months out. They need that mental support from the very beginning. How can you turn an injury into an opportunity? That's another form, but that is also a mindset thing, you know.
Absolutely.
And unless you can kind of really truly empathize with somebody, put yourself in their shoes, which is difficult when you see 10 patients a day. A guy always say you can suffer from empathic distress, where you're just like, by the end of the patient, you know, you're just like, I'm going to get more left for you, pal. You know, you're the last one. And how do you keep that motivation going for yourself as a therapist to try and help, or a coach? And I don't see any major difference. I think they're the same thing really in some ways. So I went. So from that, I designed a course called Unraveling Strength and Conditioning for Physios. And again, people see the strength and conditioning bit, and then they forget that I say it's unraveling. It's for therapists or coaches. I've had doctors on there. I've had S&C coaches, because it's all about actually. Yeah, I teach them about better strength training and assessment and management and that. But I'd say about 70-80% is all about the psychology and mindset of behaviour change, and how you can get people to do what they effectively want to do. Because sometimes they come and they're just like, oh, you get me out of pain, but actually the really thing they want is climbing that mountain, or walking the dog, or playing the guitar, and then but they're not really
climbing the mountain, walking the dog, right?
Well, that's the thing, you know what I mean, or but that's what you'll see, you know. But right. They're all just as much as important. The dog walker is just as important as the mountain climber.
Absolutely.
Or the you know, the sexy, you know, oh yeah, they do weightlifting, oh that's really good, and he just wants to play the guitar, look inside his car. Or she, or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's about getting that want. So the course is about that, and that's
all around the country, isn't it?
Yeah, around the country, and hopefully, I'll go to Ireland next year, which would be good. Back to the motherland.
Yeah.
And
that
then
brings us seamlessly on to the first question, doesn't it?
Which
is where did you grow up and what was it like? Well done, mate. You've done this before.
Sorry, 50 quid.
Stick with me, kid.
That's still 50 quid, yeah. So yeah, I'm from the northwest of Ireland. Which is right Atlantic Ocean. Next stop is New York. It's like there's a mountain behind me with a Stone Age cairn on top. I've got a flat tabletop mountain looking across Atlantic Ocean, big waves.
Is that family home?
Yeah, that's where I was brought up. So it was a beautiful place to live. Really friendly village. I'm the youngest of 8, so I've got 4.
8. Wow.
4 sisters and 3 brothers.
Eat faster than eat, right?
Man, some lessons in there. Like, hung from the top of the stairs by my brothers. You know, the old stuff. You know, you learn quick.
I bet.
My parents were, you know, I think, you know, it depends on, but I was lucky. I had really great parents. Strict but fair. So it was
really appreciate that later in life.
Yeah. when I was kind of thinking about questions like this or anything around that, it's like, oh, my parents. The only thing that was, they were definitely very strict with regards to. Funny enough, they were strict with swearing, which fucking made no difference to me. But they were strict with bedtimes. Which is kind of funny because, like I, you know, up until I was quite old, like, you know, definitely like 10, like kids now, you know, still sound like a 90-year-old, but like, I'd be in bed by 7:30 at like 9-10 years of age, like, you know. Now I don't know, that might be normal for 80s kids, but for me, like, it was bright outside. I'm wide awake. I hear other kids younger than me outside, and I remember saying to my mum, like, later when I was older, and she just was like, well, you know, she had 8 kids, family business, a whole lot. She's like, wow. They need some time. You know, she was like, "Come get to bed." You know what I mean? and you know, and I can see that now. Having young kids, you're just like, God, I would have needed that space. Not that I would have been a hassle, but it's just that whole. I just need a break from that, and it was good. It was routine and habit, and I respected it, and you know, I think it was important. Sleep is really, and I now sleep is the best thing ever, isn't it? It's the cure for everything. It's like a vicious irony. Or, you know, and I'm a night person, so it's like I love staying up all night. I love clubbing. I love staying up and chatting all night long, but I hate the mornings. You know, so it was a bit of a night. But so it was a really nice place there. But I suppose the last thing I'd say about Sligo, is where I'm from, is
How'd you say?
Sligo.
Sligo.
Sligo, yeah. Or Sligo in Irish.
Okay.
And
won't even try.
Yeah, don't worry about that. You don't get. It's a great place, very supportive, but you don't get too cocky, like, you know. So there's a story, like I used to put, started using gel in my hair when I was about 7 or 8. Probably no one else in the class. Got older brothers and sisters, so you kind of do stuff like that. Yeah. You don't do that in 1987 in Ireland. What you feckin' neck in, pal? Who the fuck do you think you are? So it's like, as long as you don't get too big for your boots, and effectively, I said it in a recent conference, if you be sound, people will be sound back to you.
Do you know, it's so interesting because I was watching an interview that Tony Robbins did with Conor McGregor online, and he says the same stuff. He was like, now what they doing sort of thing, but he describes that whole Irish vibe as very, very similar to yourself.
Yeah, it's like, be sound, be respectful, but like you can mess and everything like that, but just don't be too cocky. Don't, confidence is different to arrogance.
In most places, I think.
Yeah, no, fair enough. But like, it just be when you say it in a Sligo accent, people, I don't know. It's just you would definitely not, you definitely wouldn't get too big for your shoes.
No, I can imagine. What was it like? Did you love it?
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, I don't know if that was answering your question. Did I look? Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I absolutely brilliant. Yeah, love football. Slept with a football. Just football was it. Sport. You got to see.
Sorry, that's slept with a football, not footballer. Just sure.
Soccer. Yeah. If there's an Irish audience.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, no, I couldn't ask for it. I get on like we had a tight unit. As a family, we just all get on really well. So yeah, that's brilliant.
Lovely. That brings me into the next question. What was your route? Because I know you liked football quite a bit, didn't you?
Yeah.
So what was your route into the industry you're in now?
Yeah. So like my dad was a Gaelic footballer. So Gaelic is an Irish sport, it's like football, but it's round and you catch it and you kick it, and just rules like you kick it over a bar and you can kick it into a net. It's like a rugby goals.
Wow.
Yeah, you should check it out. So my dad played to what they would call county level, which is the highest level you can play. But then he also went on to coach it as well. So he coached at that level. And he used to speak. He speaks about sport. He still does now as well. And I get a lump in my throat thinking about it, because he talks not like it's a sport. It's like an art, or it's very emotional for him. So he discusses it like fun or enjoyment. He used to always kind of say he didn't understand modern tactics. He just said it should just be about playing the game and fun and all that, which I know everyone says now.
That gives me goosebumps.
Yeah, but he that's what he used to always say. He said just and so I think I was more of a problem then, because his coaching was bang on, and it's very modern now as well. So he was ahead of his game when it came to that. He talked about sport like that, emotionally like that. So I was viciously competitive, still am really, but I was viciously competitive then, like Monopoly, anything you name it. You got 7 older dogs in the house. You've got to bark up So, and my next to me was 5 years older, my brother Aidan. So it's a serious punching bag you've got. And then he was also, but my parents were also big into alternative medicine, Eastern medicine, as well as scientific. So they're not just hippies, you know what I mean? Not that there's anything wrong with hippies, but you know what I mean? People have this stereotype, which is another thing that people do with me. I don't like to dismiss anything too quickly. I'll have my views, but with them, they did transcendental meditation with my brothers and sisters in the 70s in the west of Ireland, which,
interesting.
My dad was very much into that.
Isn't it?
Yeah, and they were into that. And then with me, he brought me to my first sports injury course, because I was interested in it. I think I got a few injuries. I played football, football was my thing. And he brought me to that when I was 13. He brought me to Tai Chi to help me with my mood and stuff like that. Mood as just manage aggression. I didn't have any problem, but he was just saying this would help you. I thought it was going to be Bruce Lee stuff, but it was real proper, relaxing stuff. But then I liked it, you know what I mean? So my dad was a big influence on that, and my mum used to do Jane Fonda videos. I know all the Jane Fonda stuff. I used to join in with her. So it's all that thing about when you're coaching kids, or if you've got kids, is just surround them with that stuff. Because I remember I didn't have to do it yet, but I used to love my mum putting all the furniture beside, and I'd be jumping around doing the same stuff. So that got me into that, and then I think I got injuries, and I was interested in football. I wanted it. The dream was to be a professional footballer. I was absolutely dedicated to that. But interestingly, people say they miss the dressing room and all that. Because there's 11 people, probably more, 15, 16 people, and you're not always going to get on with them, and that I struggle with that a little bit, to kind of be in a team, and it got I used to love it when I was a kid. I couldn't get enough, and then I was like 17, 18, I lost the love of it, got more competitive. It was very, and that wasn't the problem, it was just the vibe and the people around. I just didn't enjoy it until I went to uni, which I enjoyed, but the level then, it's too late then, and I don't think I had it mentally. I think some, people who make it in sport are unbelievable. That's why I have such empathy for when they come in. I'm just like, I'm in awe usually, and just kind of going, this is amazing dedication you've got. And that's kind of where I led into the fitness, because I was like, I really love sport. I love playing all different types of sport and fitness, and I love gyms, been in there since I was 14. So I just wanted to do something, and I always kind of think I was just interested in people. I've always, when I did the sports science, I was like, I just like working people out. And I think combining that and then the body and stuff, I thought physio is a good match, and that's kind of, and then it's just really, I just like, I'm in your gym here, and I'm just like, this is cool shit. I just love it. Just walk into gyms, I'm just like, this feels right. I love gear and all that kind of stuff.
Well, I mean, it's a lot to unpack there, isn't it?
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, well, yeah, it does, yeah.
I hope so.
You like to use 100 words when 10 will do, to be fair.
My dad got me into it. I did a couple of courses.
Well, that brings me on to, it doesn't, but we're going to go on to the next question, which is, what is one of the more hardest things that you've been through in your life, mate?
Hardest things. It's a hard thing to think of the hardest things. I think that stands out really, I suppose, and people can maybe resonate. So I finished my second degree in physio. That sounds really... Finished my second degree.
No, it's what it is.
Right. I'd done 6 years. I was like, so the point is like, I really worked hard in 6 years. Done the last exam the day before. The next day I was top of the world, I was heading into the gym. I was going in on my bike, and next thing I wake up and I'm in... on the floor. My eyes aren't open, and there's a guy talking to me, and I don't know who I am.
Wow. Okay.
So I don't know who I am, and I can't remember, and he's asking me, and I know who I am, but I don't know. I can't say my name, don't know where I come from. And I remember that distinctly in the ambulance, and I'm like going, I don't know what I'm doing. He says, don't worry, you're all right. And then I can't remember, I'm fuck, I'm Andrew Mccauley, and I just started panicking. And he says, so what's happening? He said, you've been in a bike accident. So
just to clarify, it's a push bike or
a push bike. So I'd come down this road, and someone had, because there was a witness, and the driver had come out and hit my back wheel, and I went straight into a wall and smashed down onto the curb. So I smashed all my front teeth out.
Really?
Yeah, they're all gone. There was smashed a bone in the front of my gum here, knocked all my whole face was just covered in tarmac. Yeah, it was like black. So I must have raked the wall. I must have come at speed,
That's brutal.
So that then led to, so I just finished. I was supposed to go to London to do a final rotation, which wasn't marked or anything. It was hours. Yeah. And then I was planned to go to London. I was planning to go travelling, trying to go to London and live with my brother and do that, and then stay there and work. And then just the idea of not having front teeth, my face scarred up.
That's a big deal, man.
It was another empathy thing again. When you've done stuff, and I always say that to people, like the more you've experienced shit, like the more you can, and that just keeps going throughout the whole life.
Kind of the whole theme of these interviews, if I'm honest. So, anyway.
It's cool. It's just so it was like I was sitting, and I remember, and my face, like my mum had given me braces when I was 13, so she used to be like, your teeth, because when she was like a footballer, if you're on Sky Sports News, I want you to have, clean teeth, So, and I literally had one little eye tooth that stuck out a bit. You wouldn't even notice them much, but she was like, no, we'll get it done. So I had these kind of good teeth, and like my mum never said a word. She was like, I'm alive, I haven't got a brain injury, all that kind of stuff, this horrendous, it was all those kind of things, But like, it was just that whole no front teeth for 3 years. So I had dentures, multiple, because they had to do full reconstruction, about, a lot of money to sort it out. Luckily I got some money for it, to help. But that people's views, I really red, deep scarring all around my face. So I was in a relationship with somebody at the time, and it was just, I had to go traveling. It was, I didn't smile for a long time. So, or I would always kind of do a different kind of smile. It would affect. I didn't think it affected me, but it massively affected me, and my mum could see it.
I don't see how it couldn't.
Yeah.
no, I'm not joking. You know, that's huge, mate. That really is.
But so I think getting through that, and I met I suppose the positive thing, is I met my wife in Cornwall. I came down on the lash. It was the very first time I met her. We met her in a nightclub. And we were out the next day, and I managed to get my friend I broke up.
Not Club I, was it? Come on.
No, it was Remedies.
Oh.
And
just as bad.
I just keep forgetting my main Cornwall. For some reason, I think I'm somewhere else. So some people will know that. Yeah. So I was in Remedies anyway, and I met her. And the next day, she said, "Come out for a drink." So she came out and met us randomly, about 15 paddies. Like, you know, she's a brave woman anyway. And I was chatting to her, and obviously had a denture in, so she wouldn't probably know him, like, you know. So I went up to the jukebox, and I was chatting to this guy. This guy was like, I don't know how we got talking, a few pints, you know yourself. Yeah. And he goes, "I haven't got any front teeth," and I went, "I haven't got any front teeth as well." And I thought, this is brilliant. This was my party trick the whole time.
Coincidental, isn't it?
Like, you know, finally, like, whip out my front teeth, and I'm like, lads, take a picture. So I stare down the barrel of the pub, like, she's sitting at the very bottom of the thing looking straight at me, and then I'm like going, "Oh fuck, she doesn't know I have any front teeth," like, you know. And my mate goes, "You didn't think you had any front teeth like that?" She said, "No, I didn't know you had any front teeth," like, and I was like going, "I'm blowing this one down massively," like, you know.
That's an icebreaker.
So she knew, she knew from the start what I was like when I was looked like when I was about 85 years old. So
right.
She knows what I look like now. So
and she's all in. Great.
And she's there. Well, yeah, yeah, that's been sealed. So yeah, that was really, really hard. That took a lot of stuff to get over, but you know, I learned a few lessons along the way there.
I bet you did. I mean, that's phenomenal. Wow, I'm actually a little bit disappointed in myself. I didn't know that, you know. But there you go.
Saving it.
You knew the time would come, right? So,
it's like in strength shed sessions, they're bound to come up.
Yeah, forward thinking.
It's another skill. That's another story.
Oh, okay. We're going to go through these questions before the end. I didn't know that either. Well. The next question is, what's a problem that you've had to solve or overcome yourself? Yeah,
that was nearly in the hardest things, I suppose. That would be similar to hard. Another story. So I'm up teaching in Stratton. It was about 2017 now, maybe 16. I was teaching physios. We did a really good session, actually. I remember kind of feeling, it was when I was getting into a lot of teaching and was doing more, and I was really finding like, this is something I really want to do a lot more of. I was just starting my courses and stuff, so it was cool. And then I was just doing some notes with the girl I was teaching, and then my phone rang, and I was like, I'll check the phone. It was Hannah, my wife, and I was like going, I said, I'm just going to take this, because we had an hour left of the session. I wouldn't normally do that.
Yeah, vibe, didn't you?
They all, you know, the old vibe thing. I think everyone does that. Maybe you do miss sometimes, but I just kind of went, that's a bit weird. Now, she was pregnant, so I answered the phone anyway, and she'd gone into labour at 28 weeks.
Oh.
So, some German tourists got some serious swerve bys when I had to drive from Stratton to Trask. Wasn't proud of me driving that day, but that was it. So I actually got there before the ambulance, but yeah, so I had twins born at 28 weeks.
Twins?
With a 2-year-old. He wasn't even 2. You do know that, obviously. But he wasn't quite 2, and they were, that's quite irrelevant to the story really, and so they came straight into, so it was like emergency. We queued up for a C-section, didn't happen. She delivered them, great, at 2.9 pounds. So it was really like just weird stress. I'm actually quite good in really horrible situations like that. I don't know why. Maybe it's the old fight or flight, but I'm okay in medical situations. I think because I've been in hospitals for a long time, so you don't really get too freaked. There was probably elements of me going, right, but I could only think positively. And then I tried to go into the unit after, it was an neonatal unit, and I remember I couldn't look at them, which was that wasn't great. So because they're only like that big and fully masked up, and it's not nice. So then I kind of
difficult to look at them.
I couldn't the first day. No, I really couldn't. Which is, you know, it's not what you want, is it? You know, not from the word go. And I had my first son. I get to hold him straight away and stuff like that. So that was rough. And then what happened then was 3 months of in and out of neonatal unit. And every week they basically scan their heads to see if they've got any bleeds, because they can bleed inside. Actually, I didn't realise this. We didn't know. You can have all these things happen and they all heal. And then when they're born, and if they're fine, they're fine, and if they're not, they've had a bleed that didn't get better.
Right.
But when they're obviously born, they have to monitor this stuff, and then they might have to do stuff. So that there was and sometimes normal, very small bleeds are normal, and James had one, but it was like they were like, it's fine, unless it gets bigger.
Okay.
So you're like, okay,
that's really
good crack.
Yeah.
So we're like, my wife's trying to breastfeed, like she's trying to breast pump 10 times a day through the night with the pump. It was horrendous. And then we had to, like, they had to be fed, like they're basically force fed with milk basically to a feed to get them bigger. Scanning his head every week, just every Monday, just completely, you wouldn't believe it, with the anxiety. And then
just about to say them very words actually.
It was like 3 months of just bizarre, kind of like sometimes just kind of surreal, like you're on a trip, and then other days of like complete high stress, and then other days of just I don't know, elation I suppose in some ways, and then lucky that we have them, and blah blah blah. And they got home and that was grand, and then like 2 months later, Ella, well, they both got a thing called bronchiolitis, which is an inflammation, really quite, I didn't realise, you can get them and be fine, but because they were so small, she pretty much nearly died. Really? So within about 2 months of that, because she was like basically going to be transferred to Bristol, she on high levels of breathing support, and they were like, right, we're going to have to take her to a ventilator now. So that was just about to happen when I got a phone call from my wife saying, right, we might be moving up there, which would have meant that we've got my son down here who's 3 days, so there's a 5-day delay, so my son's just basically following her steps, just 3 days behind. Right. So we're just watching him fall off a cliff after knowing what so it was just, and I'm trying to work, I was off work for 3 months, and then like all that, because I'd set up a private work and I was trying to keep that going. So long story short, really, that was the trigger for probably, I scored quite highly on a postnatal depression score. I did it. I was, Sundays I'd be sitting in, with my kids, and never did I, I'm sure it, at some stages, but I was always, interactive. I wasn't sitting there like, but when they were gone, I was literally, it was dark. It was real dark. I wasn't suicidal or anything like that, but I empathise with suicide very quickly. And there's a thin line there. So I definitely didn't want to kill myself. That wasn't what my intention was. But I was just like going, I get it though. I understand.
And I can see how that would, just even little things like the lack of sleep alone, and then the stress of it all, and the up and down, and then the horrendous situation. There's no words, is there?
Like she got like Ella then got chickenpox like 3 months later, but it not only
who got chickenpox?
Ella, the girl, my daughter nearly died. She died. She's like a cat, that girl. She don't believe. She's like, but I think she's stronger for her. She's like a proper tank. But she got chickenpox. She got it in her mouth though, so she couldn't feed anymore. So then we had to put an NG tube in again, which brought back all the whole stuff about, because that's what they had to be fed through, and you have to wait with them with this milk and hold it there, and you're up all night long. So my wife hasn't slept for 4 years, still, because James still struggles with sleep at night as well, so he still wakes up. So it's a real poor.
It's a lot of trauma early on, isn't it?
But I went through it, and I think, but what that problem was is, so that problem of me mentally getting, and my wife had to turn around to me and just kind of go like, this can't, you can't carry on. We need to get some help.
How was your wife
something like that? She's like a fucking, she's done real well. Like, considering she like a media one. Like, people are like going probably screaming at the camera, going like, "What about your wife?" Like you said, "What about your wife?" And I was like going, "I know," but it was like kind of, I really struggle with the night stuff. Like, she's some sort of, like, she struggles as well, but like I'd be up in the night, and what was happening was, and I tried to talk to people about it, because I was like going, this is like a guilt thing. I feel really bad. She should be worse. I shouldn't be this bad, which was another thing, another arrow pointing at her. And then I spoke to someone. I said, what it was though is, I'm thinking, when I woke up, I was like, I've got work tomorrow. I've got to earn money. I've got 3 kids now. I've got a bigger mortgage. I've got cars to pay for. And I'm like, and I'm awake now. I'm not going to be able to be on form for my patients tomorrow. Yeah. They're going to see it. They're not going to want to come back to see me. And that would just spin in my head. So then it would just drive this complete stress up. Again, what had helped me out of that problem was, though, I looked at circles that I use in coaching with patients, and also when I teach it on the course as well. It's like going, and it's not major. It's just like, you've got what happened, I think, which is, I suppose, just to finish up, was that you've got health and fitness in one circle, you've got family and your social life in another, and you got work. Now everyone thinks they can fucking be on all cylinders on all three. That's just, I just think that. I think everyone wants to be the best parent, the best brother, the best work in the work they do, the healthiest and fittest. You know, certainly maybe some. That's what I think. A lot of people strive for it anyway. Even if they don't get there, they're anxious about those things. And what happened with me, which is the first time ever in my life, was my fitness and health went down because I wasn't able to train. I had no energy. I was carrying things around, so it wasn't like I was putting loads of weight on it, but I was like, I'm not doing anything for myself, and neither was my wife, obviously. But for me, I was like, this is my business. This is what I've done since I was a kid. I haven't got this, and it just was zero. Work was mental, and that my career was taken off. And then my family and social life was just crackers. Yeah. And you can't do that. So I ended up setting up a WhatsApp group with my brother and sister who actually were giving up cigarettes. And I joined that, and I said, right, I'm going to look after my mental health and we record numbers every single day. So they text me every day in a WhatsApp group. My brother's 1,000 today. Shit, yeah. He's 1,000, not smoking 1,000 days. Nice. My sister's 99 and 7, and I'm 980 or 900 and something days where I've not missed exercise as being definitely whether it was 10 press-ups, and now it's workouts, but like I built up to that. And
You've made that time for yourself.
Yeah, so that's turned out, and actually I use that with my patients all the time. So sometimes patients come.
That's right, that really is good.
The patients come in and they tell me like, I'm like going, well look, we throw the circles. Like where's all, and then they go, oh yeah, fucking, I'm not doing any of that, or that's all mental. I'm going, yeah, so give yourself a break here. Yeah. You know, that's okay to not have loads there. And then and a lot of them, I had one girl who just went, oh fucking hell, that's great. You let me off. And I'm like going, I let her off her own thing that she could, but she had to see it. Yeah. And then that's a treatment. This is a sprinter, you know, who, you know, it was just telling her how to, you know.
Yeah. So, without permission sometimes, you know, as you know, I had that with a client recently, and he got to a sticking point, and I told him to go out. I said, have anything you want, have some wine, you know, spend some time with your wife, have some laughs. And he lost weight, and he said, can I do that every week? I said, no, that was what was required this week, you know. but you know, like you say, you know, sometimes you have to say to someone, listen, it's all right to have some time, you know, for your mental health, because it's all important, it's all linked, exactly as you described. That's an amazing story. Yeah. I mean, you've told me that before, but I mean, even hearing it again, you know, it gives me goosebumps. You're all over it, mate. So. Amazing, but
I don't know if my wife will agree now.
Well, yeah.
she'll be looking at this going,
sorry, I'm meant to bring her tomorrow. So.
Different story told.
Yeah, she's like, don't listen to her. I mean, it sounds like a similar question, but what is the most painful thing you've been through in your life?
Yeah.
If it's what you've already spoken
No,
about.
it's not. Hard problems, pain. Painful, and I think they're all, you could swap them all around because they're all kind of similar, but I thought
it doesn't, basking you, so I don't want it to diminish anything you've said.
Yeah, no, definitely not. I think when it comes to pain, I think when I was about 16, so there's two things I suppose I'd say. So when I was 16, I as I say, football was, I'm not messing, I was trying to be a professional footballer. It was, I was realistic, but I thought, I had certain elements that I thought I could do, or certainly get to a certain level. So it was football, and I was okay at school. Like I didn't like school. School didn't suit me. Uni did. So I ended up doing 3 degrees. So
that's gone up. I'm sure. It was
I did a master's. You see, so I did 2 sports science, physio.
What was one of them? In a minute, do 4 degrees.
No, just the 3. I should go back on the tape here. So nice, Johnny. That's 6 degrees. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, so
sorry.
So no, you're good. But it's interesting, the contradiction. If anyone's, school did not suit me, and unis did, which was another thing. But so I didn't really like school, and I didn't like most of the subjects were just, I just didn't get on with them. But so I was kind of like, I'd moved schools as well. The first school I went to was interesting, and I didn't work very hard. And I said to my mum, I said, I think I need to get out of here, and she said, yeah, okay, cool. I won't go into the reasons why I went to that school and why I didn't go to another one. It's too long. But basically, I ended up. I'm at this career guidance teacher, and I'm like looking at all the stuff. And I'm like on the usual stuff. No interest in anything. It's kind of funny how I get into fitness and stuff. But I was like, there was a scheme, but it was very much, now rightly or wrongly, it was called it's FOSS, which are like the government, they run it. It was like a football coaching scheme, and there's nothing wrong with that, but looking down the line of opportunities, you'd have a very quick ceiling and you'd struggle.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Some people who do, coaches who do that kind of stuff. And at the time, it's not like now, where coaching is a bit bigger and there's stuff you can do, and you've got the internet and you can market yourself. But back in 1996, it was just not, the internet wasn't there. It would have been harder to get jobs. So really, if you were a parent now looking in, and it's like he's going to do this kind of course that's not making any use of his education. And I just remember my mum didn't say a word. She just went and listened to it. She goes, you look into it now, and whatever you think. And I came to my own conclusion. She didn't kind of go, I should do medicine or whatever. She just went, okay, let's have a look at it. And you look at it. And she actually applied. She sent away for about 80 English university syllabuses.
Wow. Because
she also understood how much I needed to get out of Sligo. I had 7 older brothers and sisters. Everyone knows, a lot of people knew who I was, knew my dad. And
so
you end
the
up,
youngest then?
Yeah,
Sorry,
and it was great. As I said, I had best childhood, best thing, but it's interesting. You just always seen as somebody else's thing, or a brother, and you can't really. I didn't notice it until in the last 5 years. I think I spoke to a few people, and I was like going, it's not a negative thing. I love going home, but someone said recently, it's like you kind of nearly go into not childlike state when I go home, but I feel like I'm back in that. Whereas when I'm here, I'm like, it's a different ball. Switch.
You're man.
Which sounds really cheesy. It's like I can't be my own man there, but it's not. It's different. There's constraints. There's
people have expectations of who they think you are.
Yeah, and I'm different. I'm not the same as I was. So my mum used to say, she would support anything. But she got all the syllabuses used to come in. The postman's like, what the fuck? Book. He's like, there's another fucking bunch of them. Massive arms. He's like, I'm training for you. So I would go through these syllabuses in England, and I was getting proper excited about degrees and getting the fuck out of Sligo. I was like, going to be party and all that. So she kind of just super smart in the fact that she knew me better than I knew me, and dream big and all that kind of stuff. She didn't have to say it, dream big. Or it wasn't cheesy like that. It wasn't like an American TV show. It was like, nothing wrong with Americans. It wasn't like, that kind of like super duper, mum, she always used to say, follow your dreams. It was implied. It was like love. I didn't have to say I loved her all the time. Yeah. I never really did.
Right.
But I said that at our funeral. It's oh God. Shit. You got me here now. So and then the second thing was I went to go to do physio. I had to do an interview for the uni, right? So I'd done a degree. I'm 21. It's like do an interview to do a fucking degree. I was like, yeah, grand, rock up, did a degree. And I would love to have been a fly on that wall, because I think I did a horrendous job, which I obviously did, because then I got a phone call. And I just thought, be doing me physio next year. And it was like, sorry, you didn't get in. And I was like, I got this news, and I just like someone just slit my throat. I was like, what the fuck? Mum come up again. I'm 21 years old, like a child in the bed. And again, she says, your brother lives in Puerto Rico. I remember, I physically remember the day, and she said, your brother lives in Puerto Rico. Go to fucking Puerto Rico for a year. Have a great time. You might get something in America. We might do something like that. And then we come back and we start again. I said, she used to problem solve exactly. And I was just like going, yeah, that sounds like a fucking great idea. Yeah. He has a great life there. And Brendan's, if you're watching this, he's like, oh, you were going to go for a year in Puerto Rico? I didn't know my wife would like that. And I said, but I would have gone for a couple of months. She's like, go for a couple of months and, get yourself, have a really good time. And I just can remember that. Yeah, I was like going, that was great. And she just said the right thing at the right time. And then, I don't know, a week later, phone call, you're in. Wow. I can't remember, someone must have dropped out or whatever, and then I'm in and I was on the course again. But that week was grand. I was like, oh fuck, I don't really want to do the degree. I was like, hungry, man. I was like, oh shit, man. I was like, I kind of still think about that now, going, shit, that would have been really cool, And so I think. So she ended up unfortunately having lung cancer about 4 years ago. But it was misdiagnosed for long. Not misdiagnosed, I suppose. It's a hard one. And she got it, and it was right up to the last stage. So it was she lost her voice, and they were saying it was asthma, and they couldn't see anything on X-ray. And then it was this and that, and then eventually it was a massive tumor, and she died 2 years ago. So that. that hasn't got any easier.
Well, that's
that I don't think that will ever get easy.
No.
And people say, you know, my wife as well will say, like, you know, you haven't got over it, and I say, yeah, I don't really.
I'm not sure you
I don't.
can,
Yeah, I don't think you can.
I think it's something you perhaps learn to live with, maybe.
Yeah.
That's hard, man.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's ongoing, but I dedicate most stuff to, you know, to her thing and try and the same with my dad. Like they've been excellent parents, you know. So
yeah. Well, I'll move on quickly.
Get the fuck off. I told you it was painful.
What makes you uniquely you?
Oh man, uniquely me.
I've got an idea, but I can't say it on camera.
Oh god.
And it's probably not going to be perceived positively.
Yeah. No, sure. I think I'm. I'm a bit. I suppose you probably relate to this maybe a little bit. And I think I'm a stereotype, and I'm not a stereotype at the same time. So people get me wrong a lot. I think they judge me sometimes, and then kind of, oh geez, I didn't realise you were into that. I kind of like, you know, like something like, even like text messaging last night. I'm totally ripping the piss out of you, texting, winding you up. Yeah, I didn't, and then I remember at the time going, I'm going to wind him up about it because I just.
I nailed you at the end.
I know, yeah, you did. And then, but like, I'm going to get him, and then I just want to be. But then I'm like, I also then will send a text message, which because I definitely know how much it's important, so I'm a very serious person, and I'm an absolute clown at the same time.
I think for what it's worth, you get a good balance, to be honest.
Yeah. But that can find sometimes, and I'm very passionate about stuff, and that's a new word for me in the last few years because I come across with some people as aggression as opposed to passion. So I think that there's a fine line between the two.
There is, yeah.
And I swear a lot as well, and some people don't like that. Yeah, I do. And it can sometimes be a bit where actually I'm just, yeah, it's just my nature, and what makes me unique? I think I can read people pretty well. I can read people who are good for me or not good for me. So I can't read other, you know, I can't say that, oh yeah, that person is that. From my point of view, I've made an awful lot of mistakes with relationships with regards to not necessarily sexual relationships, but like as in like friends and stuff, or just getting into groups. I'm a very friendly person. I like loads of stuff. I like techno music. I love being in a dark club, and I also like rock and classical. You know, I just, you know, I can be in both, and I can talk to those kind of people and and if people are, want to talk about philosophy and psychology, I'll do that all day long. So, but yet someone will see me and they go, oh, he's a swearing Irish person who likes drinking pints and swear, you know, and dancing or whatever, you know what I mean? So I guess, I don't know. I mean, I'm a bit of a contradiction really, I think.
Well, I think what you're trying to say there maybe is your diversity. You know, you're quite a diverse character. Like I picked up on that, you know. We've never had a short coffee, have we? You know, we can just roll with it, you know. We're going from one thing to another. You know, so yeah, your diversity and the way you apply that to your work and your life is makes you who you are in a positive way, I think.
Yeah, and I think from like the course I do as well, it kind of reflects on that. I think you can't. I don't try and coach a therapy like, oh, this is how you've got to do it. I'm just going to give them kind of like, this is how humans are, as much as I've understood. I don't
give
know.
them a toolbox.
Yeah, here, like this is what people do. Look, and here's examples of how society. You know, marketing. I always use marketing as one because they're unbelievable at it. We get us to buy shit we don't need. Like that is. So if we can get people to use the similar mechanisms to get them to get after the things they really want and that are really healthy and good behaviour, then why don't we use those strategies to do that? Because these people get us, as I say, buying 3 different coloured jumpers that are exactly the same because.
One of the hardest things to do is to get people to do things they don't want to do, but they need to do, which is rehab in a nutshell sometimes, isn't it? You know, sometimes it's because it's maybe some of the exercises aren't very sexy, they're boring maybe, or maybe they're really painful, you know, but they have to do them. You know? And
I always say, unless they really believe in me and there's a trust there, which comes from the empathy that you give to them. So again, I think I'm only just becoming anyway decent as a therapist because I've gone through an awful lot of some of the shit I've already said. So when some people talk to me about loss, I get it. Some people talk to me about sport, I get it. Some people talk about like just not sleeping for 4 years, I get it. You know, relationships, all that kind of stuff. And the more and more I'm like, so I just get more and more interested in that, and that's just that's my drive, and that kind of comes on to kind of where I want to go in the future and things like that. But anyway,
I'd agree with all that, man. That is what makes you you. Yeah, in a good way. Right. What's the one thing that people always ask you for help with?
Oh, okay, all right. It was obvious. There's the obvious things are training, fitness, health. I think that is I've got sore this, and so that's the most common. But probably enough. What I see a lot of as well is maybe just people are trying to struggle to make decisions. They're trying to communicate with, or they're trying to communicate with somebody. Like I don't profess to be a really, I can be, I'm 100% terrible as well. So I don't practice everything I preach. I'm very consciously aware as much as I can. But like the two of us have had shit days today, right? And we both reacted like, we'd expect.
I nearly burned this place down a minute ago.
Yeah, and I thought this was a video or a thingy, but anyway, on the internet. But
so I was waiting for a Zoom call.
I'm sitting there in my pants, waiting for the Zoom call. No, you've got to be here, pal. Oh, okay. Day's getting better. So, oh god, I can't remember what I was saying. So it's just, what was the question again? Was it?
It was what people always ask you help with.
Yeah. So but that's just the emotional brain. So it's when you're emotional involved. It's like anyone making decisions. I can be, I'll say to, oh yeah, I'll have maybe a parent and a child, or a couple, and I'm there. One's being disturbed by the sleep because they're not sleeping because of the pain, and I'm counselling them in a way. Or you kind of going, look, I see your point, see Feck, and your point as well, and we need to kind of work out that. So the two of them are going, yeah, and they're nodding away. If that's happening with somebody, you've got that's a winner in therapy, 100%. Yourself, when they're both kind of going, and that's only able for me to step away and go, fucking hell, that is
offering different perspectives, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just that. So I think that's one of the points. I get it, and I usually try and teach people in not just talking. I try and write stuff and draw things and use different ways of teaching so that people can kind of get that, I suppose. And I think people will ring me up and have, or they'll ask me for advice and just like, can you? I've had even with patients, they'll sit me and go, I need you to sort my fucking head out. I've had that several times, which is, and I'm like going, I no problem. Okay, let's look at it
during lockdown.
Sorry,
have you had a lot of that during lockdown?
Yeah, reasonable, but I not too bad. But yeah, just in general, I think that's the thing. It's just like how I'm doing a behaviour. I know I'm doing it. Why am I doing this? And I'm not a psychologist, 100%. But what I can do is then take about what they're all doing, and then we just put it on. And often the time, I had a doctor one. He's like a consultant, and he was talking about the injury, and then I drew it all out, everything he'd done the whole 2 years, kind of thing. And then he's just gone, oh fuck yeah. Now this is a consultant cardiologist. He's not an MSK therapist or an orthopedic doctor, but still he's like going, yeah, that's what I needed. I needed someone to just put that out there and then rationalize the stuff, and then put in some way how you can plan to maybe address them things. Because then you get the patient are usually going, yeah, all right, yeah, now, and they're solving it. They've seen it. You don't have to say anything sometimes.
Well, essentially, at that point, once you've done all you can do in your capacity, it's down to them, isn't it? And you've just got to give them everything they need and make it obvious, which is what it sounds like you do.
Yeah, and that's the only way you get that is by really acutely listening. Yeah. For that's a skill as well. I'm only hopefully just touching on that, and it's hard, and just listen, and then the questions, then how you ask the questions, the body language you use, and all that stuff. It makes massive amount of difference to people. I believe
they call that the art of coaching.
That is possibly it. So it's like when to say things, when to listen, when to speak, what to say, how to say, probe, until you kind of, then people are problem solving, or it's called Socratic interviewing. They kind of come up with the solutions themselves. If you can do that, that's nearly total. That's showing them self-efficacy. And when you get into the research really about therapy, that's like really big time now. Communication.
One of the only ways I think it can be done, if I'm honest.
Yeah,
personally.
I'm in the same camp. Yeah, I think so.
What's some of the greatest lessons that you've learned in your life? Maybe just give us the one,
Yeah, just keep it short. Lessons. Oh yeah, I like this one. Lesson wise, it's not a less. What do I say? Yeah, I think. I think there's a couple of things. I think accountability for behaviour change, being accountable to something or someone is massive.
Yeah.
I think that alongside with practicing, which sounds really cheesy as well, but like practice, because and it's just you can't help it. It's this stuff, interviews. When I teach now, the styles, how you do them. You just see, you feel a bit more relaxed and more like if I ever do lectures, I try and get people to listen to me before I do it to an audience, and it's horrendous and it makes me feel really uncomfortable, which goes on to my other lesson, which is try and make yourself uncomfortable as much as possible, because then you'll be
my kids the other day.
Being comfortable being uncomfortable, you know, that kind of those kind of things, because then you get a buzz off it. It's that weird, you know, train, it's really hard and you don't want to do it, it's Tuesday night, but afterwards you feel class and you don't want to, you know, but next Tuesday night you still go through the same thing. But if you,
amazing,
and then if you, so it's kind of accountability to something or someone is massive, to yourself and other people is important. Practice those things that you really want to get better at, and then get uncomfortable. I think that's just the rules that I've got there. And when I read around that, they're the things to success, whatever you define success as.
What advice would you give to you of 10 years ago? That must be a tough one for you, actually. So someone's asked me that before, and you get all these kind of people. He's really smart. I think I heard there's a guy called Blind Boy Boat Club. He's an artist he's Irish. He was in the Rubber Bandits, which are like a hip hop band, an Irish hip hop band. And the lyrics are comical, but he does a podcast, massive following, funny bastard, wears a plastic bag on his head, big friends with Frankie Boyle and all that kind of crew. Like he's done some psychology courses and stuff, and he doesn't preach as a psychologist, swears more than I do. He's very funny. He mixes comedy with really mental health and stuff, and he's definitely worth following. And you might come across some of his podcasts and you'd be like, oh, what, are you mental? He'll talk about all sorts of stuff, and then he'll talk about cognitive behaviour therapy and coming at it from a really authentic, original approach, because he had mental health problems himself. So it's really good. But he said life is I just remember hearing it. It's the first time I ever got a really cheesy, or not a cheesy line, but life is basically, or the universe is chaotic, and life is full of inevitable pain or suffering. Right. And you can't control that, but you can control how you react to it. Yeah. Which is probably said like a million times the same way, but it's just that kind of like, I would have said that to me because of all the things I went through. I suppose it would have just been, it probably would have saved me in certain times, because it is always remember that things do get better, and you can't get angry at anything else. You're going to suffer, people are going to die, people are going to, you're going to fuck up and all that kind of stuff. And that just made me think, that's a good summary for what I would say to myself. Just, it's okay. And the next thing would have been, it wasn't, because I don't regret anything. No. I don't really have any regrets. I don't know if I don't think, it's my own. I don't think it's a negative thing. You wouldn't be here in this moment otherwise.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm
for whatever you've been through, which is very, very, a lot of trauma, I know that you're in a happy place in your life. So
I'm certainly content, and I like the study of happiness and contentment as well, because you're just fucking yo-yoing between the two. There's no such thing, is there? Like, it's really, and I think that learning that as well, like, don't chase the happiness bug, and I know that's a really common thing said now these days, but just sometimes just knowing when to be content in certain situations.
Be present.
100%. Like, that's my dad's teaching as well. The Power Now by Eckhart Tolle. He's given away about 30 of those books, and I always bang on about it. The Power of Now. I did a thing about the now rep. Just focus on the rep, the rep that you're doing now. Don't worry about the 8th rep that you haven't done yet. Because that's making you anxiety about. I've done the first 2 and I'm already dying. If you just do 3.
Frankly, you just lose count.
Just
my gimmick.
which is grand. But like, as long as you're putting the effort into that rep, you're going to get a result, aren't you? If you're doing shitty reps, so it's that power, in the moment. And then the last thing is look, keep. If I was to speak to him, I said, pal, you're doing grand. You just keep fucking plugging away. You don't stop. You will get some shit, but you just keep plugging. And I do come up with solutions, and whether they're the right ones or not, fucking I don't know. But I think I'm doing all right. So I just keep plugging away.
Last question. What's next, mate?
Well, I'm going to set up a series of interviews with people, and I'm actually going to.
What are you going to call it?
I'm going to interview you, and that's just the same fucking questions.
Would you like me?
Can I borrow it? Rent this place out?
And then no electric in a minute.
So the So yeah, I'm really moving. Like I'm really happy in Cornwall. I love living down here, and I've got really nice, family and kids and everything, and it's great. But from a work point of view, I think I want to push breaking down the way medics or therapists communicate with their patients. I think that's the biggest thing I have now. I have a style that I communicate. It's not always the right one, and it's the right one for the right patients. I'm trying to open that net to have a better communication, so I do get more people. But there is the right people for the right job. But I want to break down the stuffiness of the medical world, that kind of not being able to have to talk in a certain way, and you having that kind of, if you get to learn how to read people and understand people, you can then quickly talk in their language, which, whatever they might be. So I'm different to somebody who's really wealthy and speaks really poshly to somebody who's from the street. I can, I will try and adapt. I'm not going like, yeah, fuck that, fuck this. I might be fucking and swearing with the poshy. It doesn't matter, but you need to read the person and then be able to speak in their language so that they know, and even the topics of conversation. So just to know, and that is a skill that's really difficult to measure, and that some people sometimes are born with it or not more natural with it, but you can get better at it. Just like you can get better at assessment or coaching, but you've got to practice, and it's probably going to be uncomfortable, and you probably don't like presenting in front of people. But if you want to be a therapist or a coach, you need to be able to do that. You know what I mean? I think that's essential. And I think, but in the medical world, when you're dealing with people who are stressed out, fucking empathize with them and speak in their language, and then be able to show them the light where they want to go and understand it. So I'm really keen on doing that more and more, coaching. Hopefully, I'm involved with a new project called the Health Development Performance Network, which is where there's a whole bunch of tutors. So we're going to be doing courses and then webinars, but also mentoring and developing therapists right the way through. They're not just just getting content, and they can pick the different coaches that they think they would want to work with, and hopefully be able to kind of progress that. So I'm really interested in kind of getting rid of stuffiness really in communication and
it's key. It really is key. If you can't communicate with somebody, then you can't get what they need across. You can't make them want to do it. You can't do any of that. You're at a standstill, aren't you? So yeah, you're absolutely right.
And
so
how do you assess them? When do you know when to go one way or the other?
And how do you get the truth? Sometimes we all do it. It's like that. A friend of mine always says, when he goes to the doctors and they says, how much alcohol do you have? He's like, you can double that. It's like no one ever tells the truth.
Yeah, and if you give them an environment though for the trust. The chances it mightn't happen in the first session, but the second or third session, she's like, I didn't really want that, or I'm more honest with that, and you don't lambast them for doing, well, you didn't do that. Well, no wonder you're not better, because a lot of the stuff that we do, some of the treatments and stuff, and managements and therapies, still haven't got very good scientific rigor. Some of the stuff we think we're doing isn't really doing it, because it doesn't hold up in research sometimes. And then some of the stuff, so there's a lot more to do with what we're actually saying and providing environments and what people want, more so than it is actually what we're doing with them as such. So I think if people like weight training, get them weight training. They're going to like it. If people don't like weight training, it's like it's that classic one I always get people to say, is swimming good for you? I said, do you like swimming? They're like going, oh no, I fucking hate swimming. It's not going to fucking work for you then. You know what I mean? Don't go swimming. You know what I mean? So
it's being adaptable, isn't it?
Yeah. So that's it.
Well, that's it, mate. Well, thank you very much for today. I've really enjoyed it. I've learned a little bit about you as well.
Hopefully.
Yeah,
no, it's been great.
Painful at times.
Hopefully people found it interesting.
Well, I'm grateful for you sharing what you did. So thank you very much.
No bother.
Do you want to plug anything before I switch the camera off?
If social media, I'm Mccauley Andrew, McCauley Andrew. On Twitter, I'm on Procare Sports Medicine is the Macy Facebook and Instagram stuff. If you're on there, I put some stuff on there, and then I've got links to courses and bits and pieces if people are interested in that. But and then my number's on the website, which is procaresportsmedicine.com. Call me. If you're interested. I know we can have a chat if you're injured or anything like that, or you want to talk about training or anything like that. Then give me a call. It's the best thing. I like to speak to people first, and then go from there.
Great. Thank you very much, mate.
Sound.
Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next episode. Thank you so much, Andrew. Thanks for coming in. I think it's really obvious that Andrew and I have a good friendship. Certainly one based off of banter. So there you go. But it was a really great interview, and once again I learned a lot about someone who I've known for a while. So it's been these interviews have been really, really special to me. I loved his thoughts on never giving up. That life's going to throw stuff at you, and you just got to roll with the punches. That's really great advice. Never give up. Just keep plodding on, keep pushing forward. Such an inspiring guy, and from what he's been through, all power to him. He's gonna be something special in this world, I'm sure. Thanks again for watching. Please subscribe, and I'll see you next week for another episode of the Strength Shed Sessions.